Hey guys, Joe here. It's kind of impromptu. Don't really have much prepped. But that's how life is, you know? So Carl figured we should probably say something about the passing of Anthony Rumble Johnson, and I agreed. So here I am. I don't really know how to frame this, so I'm just going to talk. I like to think I'm pretty good at that. So, Anthony Johnson was born on March 4th, 1984 in Dublin, Georgia, where he was raised by his grandparents who adopted him when he was 2 years old. He got a scholarship wrestling and went to college, where he was a junior college national champion at Lassen College. He made his UFC debut June 12th, 2007, at the young age of 23, where he got a 13-second KO over Chad Reiner at welterweight. And while his career wasn't the most successful one, filled with accolades, he was known for just having this unbelievable power. It was like a, I usually call it something else, but it doesn't seem fitting right now. I usually call it like a touch of death, but with this kind of thing, I'm going to refer to it as a one-touch KO power, because he seemed to just touch a guy and lights out, And he had it over several divisions, from welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. He had it. It's kind of ridiculous. Just an incredible power that he had. Just so athletic, all the way through. So here's a little personal history, I guess I can kind of say. So I remember the first time I saw him fight was I was taking a break from like MMA. I just had I watched it growing up. I remember watching, I think, like a lot of Pride. I mostly watched Pride as a kid. And like watching UFC, like here and there. It was usually when like my family had events and I'd watch, because I liked hanging out with everybody and I liked violence. I remember as a kid wanting to know who'd win in a fight between Fedor or Stone Cold. Just a little kid. You don't know anything. But I took a little bit of a break from it where I would just kind of watch events, but not really, like, in my spare time, like when I was just me alone, I wouldn't like hunt everything down. And that was from like 11 to 14, I think, like around that time zone. But I remember just like hanging out one day with my dad and watching UFC Unleashed on Spike TV. It was so many years ago, and they were, Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg were talking about like the exciting guys at welterweight. I think like Thiago Alves was fighting, and they go like Anthony Johnson. And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that guy fight. I want to look him up. So later on, I went online. I just pulled up highlights of his fights, and I was just blown away. Like, he was massive for 170 pounds. He's way too big. It was too much weight to cut. And he just had some unbelievable power, just KOing guys instantly. So I instantly, at that point, I remember instantly going out of my way to watch every fight he was in. And you could kind of argue that was like the turning point for me getting super hardcore in MMA, where I was like obsessed. Like, you could say that was kind of the turning point. I think there was other contributing factors, but I think you can make that argument for him being like one of the driving forces. I remember being upset though. He always got eye poked. I think the first fight I saw of him live was that second Kevin Burns fight, and Kevin Burns eye poked him, it was the first Kevin Burns fight. Excuse me. I poked him like several times. It was rough. And then Josh Koscheck did, I remember always being like upset about that. It's like, he always seems to get eye poked. It's rough, dude. I was a big fan too. Well, I still am. I'm a big fan of head kick knockouts. It's probably my favorite type of knockout is a head kick. Big head kick fan. So seeing him have all these like seeing him get that knockout over Kevin Burns with the head kick, and then later on like Charlie Brennan, was awesome. He just threw head kicks like nothing. He's so big at welterweight. It was so cool, because like post Krokop and Pride, I don't remember like too many like head kick artists. Like Anthony Johnson was like one of the guys for me. I remember thinking that lead leg high kick, it was just so fast, and I think Dan Hardy blocked it and got like sent flying across the octagon. I remember that going, what? Oh man. And so the man had a career that spanned from 2006 to 2021 is when he had his last fight. He had his last fight last year, and he fought in, I think this is a big accolade. He fought in all three major U.S. promotions, like all three of the big ones, as far as I'm concerned. The UFC, obviously, PFL. He fought in. He fought at heavyweight in PFL. He fought Andrei Arlovsky, and I think his name was DJ Linderman. I didn't write this down. I just remember this. DJ Linderman, where DJ Linderman poked him in the eye, and he's like, oh, come on. And Herb Dean didn't do anything. He's like complaining, like, dude, he just poked me in the eye. Linderman tries to swarm him, going, oh, he's complaining. I can just get in there. And he's like, dude, I just got poked. Boom! And just leveled him. I remember that. And I remember watching that because I was working at the time. And on my phone, on like a lunch break when I was like in college or high school as a senior, I remember watching it on my phone, getting a burrito on my lunch break, and just going, like, it's actually a pretty good memory. It's probably my favorite memory, one of my favorite memories of him. And he also fought in Bellator most recently. He passed away November 13th from what they're saying now was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and a blood disease, and he was 38 years old. As someone who I've lost a lot of, a little personal thing about me, I've lost a lot of people in my life to cancer. So I wish all the blessings towards his children, his family, his whole family. I hope they're all doing great. I definitely know what that feels like, and wouldn't wish it on anybody, man. Just wouldn't. I hope they're all doing great. I hope they're all doing strong. It's just rough. And if you're unfamiliar with his career, I did write down a couple of like notable things for me. Obviously, go check out that DJ Linderman one. I didn't write it down. I just remembered it. It's awesome. It's really awesome for a guy that is known. One of his things he was known for was getting eye poked a lot in the UFC at that point. So him getting eye poked again at 205 is it's like, oh man, and then complaining about it. Ref doesn't do anything about it. Once again, getting kind of boned over, we could say, by the refs for not dealing with these eye pokes. Big problem in MMA still, I think. And he's complaining. Dude rushes him, trying to like take advantage of his cheap shot, and boom, just levels him. One shot. That's like, like in moments in MMA. For me, I just thinking about it because I'm still thinking of how awesome that is. For moments in MMA to me, I think my favorite moment ever is probably the "Hello Japan." That's probably my like number one of like things I can just show friends, like I can very casual, friendly thing. That's got to be in that top 5. That is so awesome. But I put down two fights in particular that like really always catch my eye in his career. Number 1 is his knockout of Glover Teixeira. I like Glover. Everyone loves Glover. He's such a nice guy, such a great guy. So I hate kind of feeling like I'm picking on him here, but that knockout is insane. It's like one touch uppercut and that tooth goes flying. Like, trust me, watch it. That tooth goes flying. It's wild. The second one I have down here, and I think this is his best fight. It's a losing effort, but I think this is his most exciting fight. And I think his fight's like an underrated classic, honestly, is his first fight with Daniel Cormier at 205. The fight's great. I won't spoil it. I mean, it's a losing effort, so he loses it. But I won't spoil how it goes. It's just kind of ridiculous. Like, especially watching it now, you go, man, would I have made that call that ref made? It's very interesting. I think another one too I like is if you have the context. If you have the context of everything, maybe I'll cover it one day on a retro review or something. I'm not trying to shamelessly plug. I'm not trying to plug, but is the Phil Davis Anthony Johnson fight with context is insane. Phil Davis was about to get a title shot, just beating everybody. At the time he was streaking, he was looking great. Just beat Lyoto Machida, if I remember correctly. Here comes Anthony Johnson, just random coming back to the UFC. Spent all his time as a welterweight, basically. Coming back to 205 in the UFC. Let's see what he's got. And Phil Davis gets shut down. Just couldn't do a thing. It just haunted by that power. I think he took like a left kick and blocked it and like went down. Just wild. That's another one. That's probably another one up there. So there's 4 fights. You can check them out. Honestly, it's kind of hard to talk about this stuff. I think it's kind of like, what can you say? But we felt like we wanted to say something, anything, just a little remembrance, a little quick one, obviously. So there really isn't much else I can say except rest in peace, Rumble. My prayers, I'm a religious guy personally. My prayers are going out to you and your whole family. Rest in peace, buddy. Well, I'm Joe with the INC. Thank you for watching.